welcome to Satsang. Yes, Tosh.
How do you develop the quality of equanimity?
Equanimity. Well, a mind that is equanimous is not really rocked by life. It can take fire without contracting, and it can give fire without contracting. And this type of mind that is equanimous can support enlightenment. A mind that contracts every time it disagrees with life will not support enlightenment, because it will attract awareness back to itself, even if awareness is aware of itself. This is particularly so in the beginning. And so what's required is for people to develop a mind that is equanimous. A mind that is not resisting life, not contracting against life, but in acceptance of life. Equanimous.
How do you develop a mind like that?
Practice. You practice removing all the obstacles that create contraction in you, which usually are belief systems. Believing that things should be different than how they are. And when that belief isn't the expectation on it's not met, quite often people go into contraction, into resistance, and cause suffering for themselves. But there's no need to do that. We can accept life. People think that if you accept life, you can't change things. That's rubbish. Of course you can change things from a mind that is accepting life. You just don't do it with resistance. You do it with openness in a relaxed way. It's different.
So you had an equanimous mind before waking up?
I did.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Did you have an equanimous mind before you woke up?
Yeah, for about 10 years before I woke up. Because I'd been practicing acceptance and let go for a long, long time. Because I was into the way of the heart. And the way of the heart demands openness. And when you're contracting, you're not open, you're closed. When you're resisting life, you're not open, you're closed. And as a result of being closed and in resistance, you lose the perception of love. If you want to continue having the perception of love, you have to be open and vulnerable. Closure doesn't work. Defendedness doesn't work. It works to protect you in life, but in the way of the heart, it's actually in the way. Anything else?
So in going for enlightenment, should one make equanimity a goal?
One should make enlightenment a goal if one's going for enlightenment. And then when one makes enlightenment a goal, one looks for the obstacles that are in the way and removes them. The goal, for me, I gave up on enlightenment after Osho died in 1990. But I decided to go for heart or love. And so I started removing all the obstacles that were in the way of the perception of love, which just happened to be the same obstacles that were in the way of enlightenment.
So you gave up on enlightenment because your master died?
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I have a living master. So would you recommend having enlightenment as a goal or having heart as a goal, or both?
Both is pretty good. But if you want to have a beautiful life, having heart as a goal is best. Because when you serve heart, you experience unconditional love. And unconditional love is the most beautiful thing a human being can experience. But it's up to you. I think if we're going to be in the marketplace, we might as well go for love. If we're sitting in some cave dribbling somewhere, trying for enlightenment, well, you can go for just enlightenment. But if you're in the marketplace, love is best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any statements, any challenges to anything that's been said here this evening? Or does anyone have anything they would like to chat about? Yes.
If you're in the marketplace, is it easier to go for love than enlightenment?
It's hard to go for either of them, actually, because it means going against the survival mechanism of the mind. Because openness does not include survival. And so most people never really open up because they're too frightened to. And so most people don't experience much unconditional love as a result of that. They think they do, but what they're usually experiencing is primal bonding, which has nothing to do with love. Love can be present in it, but primal bonding itself is just a part of the survival mechanism for the survival of the species. We get bonded to our family, we get bonded to our partner, we get bonded to our friends, and we think it's love, but it's primal bonding. And inside that primal bonding is possessiveness and jealousy, which qualities which unconditional love does not have. Anything else?
In my case, do you think it would be better to try and go for heart than for enlightenment?
I'd have to contemplate that. Would you like to sit down? I'm not here to make decisions for people. You have to make your own decisions. I'll just point the way that I know works. That's it. You're responsible for your decisions. I'm not going to make them for you. I'm just a pointer. Jordan LaFontaine.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
Just a quick question. When you take a moment to be aware of your own awareness, is that like a mini satori?
Okay, so I don't do that because you asked me when I take a moment. Awareness is aware of itself continuously, 24 hours a day with me. I don't take a moment to become aware of anything. I am awareness.
Okay, I'll re-clarify that. If I take a moment to be aware of awareness, is that a mini satori in a sense?
If awareness becomes aware of itself, yes, that's a mini satori. If it stays aware of itself for a while, that's a larger satori. And if it stays aware of itself continuously, without stop, it's enlightenment.
And what is responsible for creating the different degrees of satori?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd love to know. If you find the answer out, let me know. I mean, I've studied the other masters from the past, but I don't believe a word they say. It has to be my own direct experience. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't count, because there's way too much bullshit in spirituality. And the bottom line is, I don't know.
Do you remember some of the different qualities between a minor satori and a major satori when you were having a number of them?
Yeah. Sometimes I experience myself as the universe and every particle in it being love. And sometimes I was just silence and stillness, emptiness, nothingness. And there is a difference. Right now, I'm experiencing myself as the universe, every particle of it being love. Which means as I look at you, because my awareness is also out here, I love you. And I can't help it. I just love you.
When you say you feel that you're like every particle, what do you mean by that?
Well, it can't be described because the mind, particularly the ego, likes to describe everything from a set of reference points. But what we truly are has no reference points, so it can't really be described. It's like the tower that is the tower cannot be said. I'm attempting to describe it, but that's an attempt and it's a failure. Because I can't give you any reference points because there are none. Another way of saying it would be, I'm at everything and everything is love.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, Zen.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, Zen.
In Satsang recently, I've been really feeling with the Buddhafield a lot of like sleepiness. And I feel I've tried relaxing into it, but the more I relax into it, I can catch myself like almost falling asleep. Do you have any like advice or tricks to?
There's no tricks. What's happening is the Buddhafield is relaxing your mind and taking away the coping mechanisms that hold down all the tamasic energy that you've got inside yourself, and it's coming out. And as it comes out, it wipes you out because you're carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a gift because you're getting to purge. You're getting to empty out from a whole pile of stuff that you've been keeping prisoner inside yourself for a while.
I start to contract when I feel the sleepiness because I'm afraid of falling asleep and getting kicked out of Satsang.
Be okay with being kicked out of Satsang, and it's not a problem. It's only a problem if you're in resistance to the possibility. Rajesh has his finger on the button. If you fall asleep, he'll kick you out.
Yeah.
He's basically my Gestapo. And now that you've warned him, he'll be keeping an eye on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else, Zen?
I've been also struggling throughout the day with just intrusive thoughts. Like I can't stop my mind from going and creating stories about the emotions that I'm feeling. And it feels like I have to contract or push down what I'm feeling to try to just focus on the breath, or it feels like I have to go into the resistance to just bring myself back to what's real.
Yeah, one of the main problems you have is that you have a mind that is being victim orientated. So you have a habit of turning yourself into a victim when negative emotions appear. And that's the pattern that you develop through childhood. And so now it's bugging you. If you want to change it, you have to stop supporting victim orientated thinking, full stop, until it stops coming. Because victim orientated thinking wasn't something you were born with, it's something you developed in childhood. And it's natural to develop it because every television program, the news, every newspaper is full of victim orientation. And we think that it's the way it is. Unfortunately, it's the way to suffering. And we do not have to support victim orientated thinking because it's a voluntary thing. You have to volunteer to be a victim. Shit happens and it's okay. Or you can turn yourself into a victim of it and make it not okay and suffer. Your choice.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's a pretty easy choice.
But you've got to be conscious enough to make the choice.
When I notice victim orientation in myself or in a situation, what does like just stopping it look like? Is that bringing myself back to what's real, or is that?
Well, everything you see is real. Everything you feel is real. Everything you hear is real. So all you've got to do is put your awareness on what is real and abandon that is not real. And anything you think is not real. And so it's choosing reality over dream. But unfortunately, we all went to school and we learned how to dream, and we did 12 years of learning how to dream. So most people have a habit of dreaming their lives away.
Does the contraction come from going against my patterning?
No, your patterning includes the contraction. You're patterned to be a victim. To change that is going to take a fair bit of effort over a fair bit of time, where you stop supporting victim-orientated thinking for long enough until the pattern of not being a victim emerges. Currently, you have a well-established victim-orientated mind.
Yeah.
And this is the work. This is the work. The work is changing the patterns of the mind that are in the way of truth, that are in the way of heart. And removing victim orientation is part of that deal. As long as you remain a victim, you're stuffed. And you're creating suffering for yourself that you don't need to. But people aren't conscious enough to see that. Anything else, Sam?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Iman H.
Hey, Vishrant.
Hello, Iman H.
Yes, how are you?
I'm always the same.
I came across your channel 2 days ago, and I just think you're so lovely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I wanted to see if you can end my seeking.
End your seeking. Well, the end of seeking is waking up to true nature and living as that. But that also involves death of the one that's seeking.
Exactly.
Nirvana means annihilation. It doesn't mean heaven. And so you're looking for nirvana or annihilation. So what gets annihilated is the I, because it's the problem. There is no other problem except the I. But when awareness turns on to itself and stays on itself, the I disappears, because the I is actually imagined. It's not real. And when awareness is aware of itself, it's reality aware of itself. And that's imagined disappears. So the I disappears. But up until that point, the I is reasonably prevalent in a person. It's not there all the time. It can disappear from time to time. but it's there a lot of the time. The identification with what you're doing, the identification with what you're saying, the identification with the body, the identification with the mind. But that identification disappears completely in awakening. And so then there's a sense of nobody here, which is actually not negative. It's quite nice. So that's the end of seeking. And that is the goal of the seeker. And I've chosen to help people find that goal. If you tune into the Buddhafield that is here, it'll evaporate your mind to some degree, because the mind is in the way. You can feel it? Okay, that's good. What I did is I tuned into my teacher's Buddhafield, started finding myself as space, and 26 years ago, I found myself as space ever since then. And the ego hasn't been here for 26 years. But it was because I was tuning into my awake teachers and tuning into their energy field and using it as a doorway into my own true self. Someone who's awake is a great big black hole, really. You tune into them and you disappear, because you get expanded into infinity. Everything that comes into the Buddhafield gets expanded. And so I advise people to find someone who's awake and hang out with them to the best of their ability, because that, to me, is the freeway. Any other way is a meandering road. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Why are you crying, darling? It's okay for you to feel. I don't have a problem with it. Something's got you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hearing your videos yesterday and I was just crying.
Yeah.
Just tired.
Yeah, I understand. I teach your way to truth. I teach your way of the heart. And I'm absolutely pragmatic. I don't want anyone to ever believe me. I want people to find out for themselves through their own direct experience. All I am is a pointer, because I found truth as self. And now I try to help other people find it too, just as a pointer.
Yeah.
I teach the way of the heart because it's a beautiful way to live here.
You mean selfless service?
Well, selfless service, once you find heart, that's actually what you want to do. Once you start experiencing unconditional love, all you want to do is be in service to others or to animals or to the ground or to the birds, to the animals, because that's how love affects you. It makes you feel like you just want to take care of everything. And
That's how I feel.
Yeah, caretaker. Yeah.
I quit my job 2 years ago, and every time I try to go back, and my background is in business, and every time I try to go back, I just collapse and I cannot do it anymore. So
Did you hear my story? What happened? I was a businessman. I was a very successful businessman. And I gave my companies to my staff, walked out, took my shoes off, walked around Australia barefoot for 4 years in search of my heart, because as a businessman, I'd lost my heart. And I realized I'd lost the most valuable thing that a human being can experience.
But I can't afford to walk barefoot for 4 years.
Well, neither could I. I turned into a total bum and a beggar. You know, I'd end up in soup kitchens. But it was the best thing I ever did, because I got rid of the identity of businessman. And I became a nobody going nowhere. And as a nobody going nowhere, I could find my heart. I had nothing to prove to anyone. It takes no effort to be a nobody. It takes a lot of effort to be a somebody, particularly a successful somebody.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not suggesting that you take your shoes off and walk around. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that I used to be a businessman too. And I got sick of business as well, probably for the same reasons. And it's okay. You still have to find a way to survive in the world, though.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
You'd be welcome to come back and visit and talk to me again in Satsang. I hold 3 public Satsangs a week. If you tune into the energy field, it'll open your heart, because a lot of it's love energy.
You can feel it.
Mm. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about tonight?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Hello, V.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
You were talking at the start about finding your heart, opening your heart. I have a program, like a lot of people have, of being a hunter, you know, of relationships and, you know, sex and stuff. Well, I'm not allowed to use the word romance anymore.
Hang on, the Great White Hunter.
That's the one. So is that in the way of heart?
How do you go with your hunting? Are you successful?
Yeah, sometimes more than I should be.
Ah.
So is it in the way of heart?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it involves resistance to be a hunter of that type. Stop hunting and just become available. It's a different way of being in the world. Hunting takes effort. Being available takes no effort.
Yeah, I'm not as pretty as you.
Look, some women like ugly men.
Fixer-uppers. I notice with hunting that it takes me out of the present, because there's always anticipation.
Yeah, well, it's all future orientated when you're hunting, unless you're actually going for the kill, and then it's in the moment.
Yes.
Anything else? Thank you, Beat. That was great. Hello, Sean.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
On the topic of going for heart, how does one have the avenue of heart and that same avenue of going for heart as an income stream or your job? What do you need to be aware of, or what would I need to be aware of in that, so that I don't get caught in the ego or goals?
So I had to choose jobs or careers that supported the way of the heart, because my old career as a publisher didn't. And that meant I had to go back to school and train. And so I trained in naturopathy and I trained in psychotherapy, so I could actually have some tools to help people with. And I worked as a naturopath and psychotherapist for 10 years before awakening. And it was wonderful, because I was doing it because I loved people and I loved serving people, and it was wonderful. But I did develop the tools. I did go back to school.
Because you weren't giving your services for free, did charging a fee, marketing for money, promoting yourself, can that get in the way of the heart that's the intention in the first place to be doing that work?
It can do. It really depends on where you're coming from. When I first started, I used to see people for free. When I was walking around Australia, I actually started the path, the way of the heart path, and I'd give people free massages. But then again, I'd mow their lawns for free too and wash their cars, because I was moving into a service which was different to what I'd been into before, which was self-service. And I was enjoying the change. It was nice to be genuinely giving rather than in some way taking. But eventually I started charging, because I had to support a family and rent and insurances and whatever else. So eventually I charged. But it was still the way of the heart, because my intention was to serve people and love them. It wasn't to make money out of them, though that was a consequence of what I was doing.
Like a byproduct of the intention. Yes.
And I was enjoying it. I loved loving people. I loved serving people. It was a great way to live.
I can see how sometimes I can want to give to people that come into my business, but I can see how there may be an aspect of low self-worth that maybe gets in the way of, of charging or wanting to charge, or needing to charge what the due cost is. And I can sell it to myself by thinking I'm being a really nice person. Is that something that you think I need to be mindful of, or that could be a trap?
Well, you have to watch your mind. You have to have this silent witness that watches the mind so it can see its agendas. Otherwise, the mind can fool you, because it's a bit of a liar. And so I used to do quite a few things to help people where I wasn't looking for any reward at all, because I wanted to be in service.
Yeah. I just got some beautiful clarity on that. Thank you. And I'm doing it because I'm worried that I'm not going to be liked, or they're not going to like the product. Then I'm selling out on myself, I think. But if other times I do things that it's for free and it's not, there's no agenda, there's no attachment, but I can really see that I do have this fear of, and so I need to see that before I act on it or allow it to take over.
Yeah, the way of the heart is not common. It's called the noble path, but it's quite often the least trodden path. because it does mean that you put yourself aside for the benefit of others. But it is a beautiful way to live. It really is. It's just not that popular because it's not what we're programmed for at school. Anything else, Shanti?
Yesterday, I mentioned that I felt recently in satsangs and when I've been in person in the Buddhafield, that I felt like I was naked, like I felt very exposed. And I realized that that could be because I am, putting myself in a situation where, I can be seen. I can't hide anything. So I'm aware of that, but I was wondering, is that experience of feeling so naked and exposed, which was extremely uncomfortable, and it wasn't attributed to any specific thing, is that vulnerability? Is that what true vulnerability is supposed to feel like? Or is that just me?
That's part of it. But when I was a seeker, I would only be with teachers who could see me and who were willing to tell me what they could see. I didn't waste my time with teachers who couldn't see me, and I didn't waste my time with teachers who just told me how lovely I was. I wanted to know the truth. Anything else? Thank you, Shanti. Rajesh, hello.
Hi, Vishrant.
I hope you're watching, Zen, making sure that if he's falling asleep, he's being removed.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it. And yeah.
On it. There are some questions, actually 7 questions from our YouTube members on your live stream.
Okay.
The first one is from Angsu. He asks, what can you say about Zen?
About what?
Zen. The religion, not the person.
Well, Zen tends to be very orientated around discipline. And for me, that matched my personality. So I've always had a fondness of Zen because I have a highly disciplined mind. If I decide to do something or say I'm going to do it, I do it. I don't give myself a choice. And in studying Zen, I use some of the methodologies of meditation in my undoing of self. I find Zen to be very clean in a lot of ways. It's not full of nonsense. And so I like Zen.
He also asks, how to do the game of zero when in the marketplace?
Well, that's the only time to practice it, because that's when you're going to need to practice it. When you go above zero and you actually become disturbed, that's the time to let go and get back to zero. And the people or the things that trigger you to go above zero are your teachers. Anything else?
K Flow asks, this was in the reference to the past satsang, where you talked about past lives. Why do we keep coming back as a human experience, in your experience?
What makes you think I've come back as a human every time? Anything else said?
Arjun asks, is it true that there never was a doer or sufferer, and all that occurs is by God's will?
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But, are you really ready for that understanding? That understanding is a very high teaching, and most people aren't ready for it. High teachings are a waste of time. You're better off getting the lower stuff right, like the foundations of higher consciousness right, like acceptance of self completely. Self-acceptance is the foundation for higher consciousness. And unless you've done that work, you're wasting your time on higher teachings. Rajesh, I called you Zen just a little while ago.
I heard that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering if that's flattering or not flattering.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I do like the discipline aspect, as you did as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, discipline is really simple. You just give yourself no choice. When we give ourselves choices, we fail in discipline.
And I never heard anyone say that before you said it. Heard a lot of people talk about discipline, but not put it in as simple of terms as you did.
Right. Because my practice.
Yeah, there are a few more questions.
Okay.
Vivan asks, I noticed that changing habits is both a struggle and a liberation. Will the struggling component dissipate when the changing of habits becomes a habit itself, or will it forever stay a struggle?
Okay, so in changing habits, there's two programs that are required. The first program is the one that sees the problem. And to develop a silent witness that watches the mind without judgment is an essential for seeing the problems. Because unless we have that silent witness that watches the mind, we don't see the problems. We don't see what's wrong. And so then the second program, which has to come into place, is a stopping program. A program that just stops whatever the habit is. And so the first time I used this particular methodology was with worry. I was witnessing my mind. As soon as I spotted it worrying, this is when I was 19 years old, I'd simply stop it. I would not entertain it. I would stop it immediately. And by the time I was 21, because I've been doing this program for 2 years now, worry stopped coming. The two programs were witnessing the mind to see what it was up to and stopping it. Just stopping it. Treating it like a terrorist. No mercy, no negotiation, stopping it. Okay?
Yes. Then Ricard asks, are acceptance and unconditional acceptance the same thing?
To me, acceptance is unconditional. If it's conditional, it's not true acceptance. Anything else?
Yes, the last question is from Abba. I see the horror in me to face the darkness. What is needed for the courage to go straight into the darkness?
You have to get sick of being a coward. Anything else?
That's all the questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rajesh. Hello, Tara.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
When you dropped your company and you say you had to let go of that identity.
Yeah, I did. which meant I left Perth as well. I left all my friends and my business colleagues, my family. I left everyone because I needed to be away from it for a while because I was too attached to it, the identity. And if I had stayed in Perth with all the friends and all the old business associates, I probably would have gone back into business. And so it was best that I made a clean break and disappeared for a while. So I did.
And did it mean also to drop all the beliefs that were keeping you in business?
I was absolutely sick of business. I was a successful businessman. I wasn't failing. But I realized that the only thing valuable here was heart, and I didn't have any. And I felt bankrupt. Even though I was wealthy, I felt bankrupt because I didn't have heart. And once I realized I didn't have heart and I looked around and saw all the suffering of everyone, I didn't want to be here anymore. And so I gave myself a choice to either die or to find heart.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you. It was
I found heart.
Yeah, and it's worth dying for.
Heart is, yeah.
Yeah.
When you find heart, when you find unconditional love, you'll die for a stranger because that's how it affects your mind. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. And did you also feel that you were going against your survival mechanism, like not having food to survive?
I didn't care.
Mm.
You know, there's always a way. There's always a way. You know, like I was living in Australia. Australia is not a poor country.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tara?
No, thank you. That's
Thank
it.
you, Tara. Nice to see you, Tara.
Nice to see you.
Hello, Premdeep.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, Premdeep. I'm enjoying my haircut today. Thank you.
Thank you. Vishrant, earlier you were talking about the economist mind.
Yeah.
And one incident happened with me a couple of months ago when I was doing formal meditation, and in that something dropped in my room, wind blow it, and something dropped, and that made a noise. But I was meditating, but it's nothing surprised me, like nothing got feared and contract. So I was that in economist mind stage in that situation, in that time?
Yes, that's correct.
Like anything
That
happened.
time.
Yeah, in that moment, like don't surprise you anything.
Yeah.
So is that because of we doing like meditation practice, then it thinks we get the economist mind?
Well, it definitely helps because you're going to, if you're doing meditation practice, you're going to know mind.
Yeah. So in the no mind stage, we are more in economic stage of the mind, like.
Well, we're relaxed and we're at peace.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
No.
Premdeep?
That's all, Vishrant. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bodhi, Bodhi, Bodhi.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, buddy.
I have a question. So I joined the public Satsangs from work, and we had daylight savings this last weekend, so the hours changed for me. So this meeting bumps up right next to a meeting I have at work. Is it all right if I leave a little bit early from the public Satsangs? Is that rude or?
No, that's fine, mate. You just disappear. No one will notice.
That's the way, I guess. Yeah.
Is there anything else, Bodhi?
No, thank you so much.
It's good to see you, Bodhi. Abaya, hello.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, Abaya.
Hello.
Yes, Abaya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abaya. Lockie Skywalker. Hello, Lockie.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
What can you see? What can you see about me?
I'm pretty sure you're male. But, like, there's no guarantee of that. You could be trans. You asked for it. Would you like more feedback?
Can you fall in love after you're woken up, after you woken up?
I fall in love with everyone I meet, mate. Can't help it. I love people. Anyone I talk to, I fall in love with. Like I love you. Surprise, surprise.
Love the unlovable. Didn't Jesus say that?
I don't know. I wasn't around.
All right, that's enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Lockie. Hello, Willow.
Hello,
Hello,
Vishrant. Oh, yeah. I would like to ask you, doesn't feel important right now, but how to not how to keep open when you
But how
change
do you
environment.
manage to keep closed?
Easy.
But it takes resistance and energy to close. It takes no energy whatsoever to remain open. Babies are wide open.
Yeah.
Mm.
What did you do when you were with Ananda Tetra in Spain, for example, or Italy?
Oh, I was into Taoism, and I wanted to find more yin. And so I looked at all the places that I was in resistance to life, and I removed them. So I could stay just receptive and open. Because yin is very beautiful. When you're operating from yin, you perceive heart quite easily. When you're operating from yang, you don't perceive heart much at all, because yang is a form of closure, whereas yin is just openness and receptivity. And so I practiced being yin.
And did you manage when you came back to and work with business? And
Yeah, when I came back to business, I didn't want to do it. I'd had enough. I didn't want to be a businessman warrior anymore. I'd been successful. I'd retired 4 years earlier, I think. Something like that. Didn't want to do it anymore. Didn't want to be associated with it anymore. Anything else?
yeah, since I came home, I feel like I close up around, like I don't perceive as much love during the days, and then I feel life feels very empty, like it's not really worth.
So who's around you? What people are there?
Mostly my partner and my children and some friends, and also the family. We had the ceremony.
So who's there most of the time?
My partner been affecting me most.
Yeah, okay. So the sadhana is simple. Love your partner.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very beautiful today. You're generating a lot of Krishna love energy. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Hello, Simon Sariotti. I think it's Sayati.
Salotti. Hi.
Salotti, yeah, it's
Yes.
cool. Sounds a bit Italian.
It is. My dad was born in Tuscany, so yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world if you could ever go.
I lived in Italy for 5 months. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world, that's for sure.
On Lago Maggiore, in a place called Intravermaglia.
Yeah. Nice. Beautiful. I want to go back soon. Your story resonates with me somewhat. I'm still in the corporate finance world, doing well according to society and making money, and it's a good thing. I have a lot of resonance to your story and how you sort of left it all behind, and I'm wondering, what was your moment when you had the courage to, and the conviction and the clarity to say, no, I'm really going on this path and I'm actually going to go all in and leave that path where I'm known and I'm successful and people, I get the recognition, and I'm going to leave that all behind and I'm going down this path. How did you do that?
I was on Lago Maggiore on the foreshore. It was nighttime. And I felt the armor that I had as a businessman. I started to feel the armor that I developed over a lifetime. And I started to take the armor off. It was energetic armor that was protecting me. And I realized that it was in the way of my heart, this armor. And I was taking it off. And I managed to get it off. And then I turned around and it was back on again. And I realized that I couldn't remove it because my connection with my companies was still too strong.
Mm.
And so when I came back to Australia, I didn't want to give my companies away. But after being here for a while, I realized I didn't want to be a businessman anymore. I didn't want to wear armor anymore. I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to change. I wanted to find my heart, because I also had a realization that I was actually broke. Even though I was financially very successful, I was broke because I didn't have heart. I looked like I had heart. I came across as a very generous man, but the truth is, I know I didn't have heart. My generosity was for me. I gave to people because it made me feel good. And I realized that I had to change. And I looked around and I saw that everybody I knew was suffering, because everybody I knew was resisting life somehow. And I just didn't want to live anymore. I thought, this life sucks, because I couldn't find purpose and I couldn't find meaning. I didn't buy the purpose and meaning that the churches had gave me, that my government had given me, my schooling had given me. I could not find purpose. I could not find meaning. So why be here? Why put up with all this nonsense? And then a bit more time went by and I was riding my motorbike and I was lining up trees on my motorbike because I was going to kill myself. And I thought, and at the last minute I'd stop. I wouldn't stop. I just would swerve away from the tree. And I realized that I didn't want to be here. So I chose to serve heart, because I thought that that might be worth doing. And in the service of heart, I knew that I could find a different life. But to break away, I had to leave my companies, and I just gave them to my staff, including 14 offices of furniture. I never went back. I never said hello to anybody ever again.
Crazy.
It was the end. Yeah. All my family thought I was crazy. All my friends thought I was crazy. One person offered me hundreds of thousands of dollars because they thought I'd gotten into financial difficulty. They were offering it as a gift. And I said, no, I don't have a problem with money. I have a problem with lack of heart. Because as a businessman, I was a terminator.
Do you have any regrets?
I never had one. Not one regret. Because as a successful businessman, I also knew that if I wanted to, I could do it all again.
Yeah.
I always had that confidence. So even though I'd hit the road and I was becoming a bum, I knew that I could pick it up anytime I liked. The beauty is, after a while, I didn't want to pick it up again. I actually wanted to do something different. And it began with me actually, because I trained as a deep tissue masseur when I was a businessman, because I was just fascinated by it. And I started doing deep tissue massage with people, for people. And I found that even though I wasn't charging, I was really enjoying it as a job. And so I took up being a masseur, which was a real come down from being a successful businessman. And it was so underpaid, it wasn't funny. But I just loved doing it because it made people feel good, and it made me feel good to make people feel good. And so that's how it began. And I then went back to school and trained as a naturopath and psychotherapist. So I'd have some skill level to help people with more things, but that was the way. That's what took me. This feeling of not wanting to be here, this feeling of like, what's the point? What's the point of all this?
Yeah.
You know, like success and money doesn't make you happy.
No,
It makes you temporarily happy, but you know, so
I
what?
get it. I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I've never had a regret, not one ever.
Thank you.
But it looks like I've gone over time, but big time, because I've enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, it's
Simon.
Been unreal. And I hope to continue some point. Thank you.
You'd be welcome to come back and say hello again, Simon.
Thank you, Vishrant.
Thank you. And thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here tonight.